The kind of game I favoured as a young lad were the ones that had bags of action, great music, excellent sound, and addictive and enjoyable gameplay. And at first glance, Bonanza Bros looks like it offers none of those things. But peel back the layers a little and you'll find a supremely enjoyable game. The category of this game is hard to define. Is it a run and gun? Is it a platform game? Is it a heist game? While it certainly has you stealing all manner of objects, calling it a heist game is not exactly accurate. The heist describes the game's objectives, but I would say this game is a puzzle platformer. The idea is to quickly map out a route to get all the goodies with as little backtracking as possible, whilst not getting seen, and do all of this in under 3 minutes. And with the nice, even pacing of the game, it doesn't take long to get into the flow, and when you do, you will surely love this game. The player can walk, jump, shoot, and move behind a column or large piece of furniture, which allows both hiding and dodging shots from the guards, who can only be stunned for a few seconds with a gun or by slamming a door on them. They are alerted by sounds or with the brothers entering their field of vision, and then either hide, call for help, or fire against the player. Some guards have a riot shield and can only be hit when moving away. A player loses a life if hit by a guard's projectile or melee attack, attacked by a dog, pressed by a door, or by failing to make a jump onto a springboard or zipline and landing stuck in the ground. Losing a life in these ways causes the player to drop all items. Running out of time both costs players a life and forces them to restart the stage. The game was one of the earliest games to appear on the Sega System 24 board, which may help explain the use of the rather splendid graphic style seen in the game. While not a unique graphic style, it certainly was not a common style in use at the time. The visual style is like a mix of 2D and 3D shapes, with each of the characters in the game not representative of a real life person, but more like a series of 3D shapes without legs, and the isometric backgrounds are made up of solid colours with a subtle amount of shading to give this computer generated 3D animation of the time. In between levels, you get this screen of the brothers looking at a projector image of their next job. Very old fashioned and film noir-esque. The whole look of the game is exquisite, and one of the prettiest games you were likely to find in an arcade in 1990. The sound is also unlike most other games of the time, with these upbeat tunes that accompany the action, and some of the tunes are a little catchy. The sound effects also don't drown out the speakers and overcome the player. Sonically, the thing feels a little muted, as if to simulate the stealthy nature of the gameplay. You do get some amusing sound effects for the springs, rakes and cans, and the gun sounds more like a pea shooter than a gun, and these help with the light-hearted approach to the game. The game is a right hoot to play, and I was honestly surprised when I played it, as I didn't think it would be my cup of tea. But I guess it was a welcome distraction from all the other games I was playing at the time, like Golden Axe, Altered Beast and Final Fight. This game was a good way to unwind and bring down the adrenaline levels. But with that being said, it could get quite nerve-wracking at times, as you realise you have missed something and you have to backtrack, and then you realise you only have 30 seconds left on the clock. Some games reviewers described it as a rather tense game of hide and seek, and it's a very different sort of game that taxes your brains rather than your reflexes, and both of these descriptions are very accurate in my opinion. It was a game I never played often, but would give it a go if I had some spare change, and even though it was an incredibly enjoyable game to play, I can't say I ever returned home from the arcades thinking I need to have another go. For me, it was just one of those games I appreciated, but didn't go nuts over. But that didn't stop me from getting it on the Mega Drive when I had the chance to. The Mega Drive version came out sometime in 1991, and it's shockingly good on the console. First off, it's obvious the Mega Drive was not going to be able to do the same graphic style as the System 24 arcade board, so Sega kept them simple with this port. The visuals seem a little flatter than the arcade, and the shading is a lot rougher and more obvious, but it's not awful looking. It does a good job in capturing the arcade visuals. I have to pay a special mention to the museum level on the Mega Drive. All the pictures and other tidbits all seem to reference plenty other Sega titles on the 16-bit machine, such as eSWAT, Golden Axe, Revenge of Shinobi. I do appreciate those neat little touches in games. The sound as well is good. The upbeat tunes are faithfully redone on the 16-bit console, and the sound effects are all accurate, but unlike the arcade, the whole ambience of the sound is lifted a few decibels higher, and it seems less like a stealth game and more like a platform game now.
Wow! 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 Wow!
The gameplay is just as you would expect. It plays very similar to the arcade, and in fact, the Mega Drive version is a lot easier than the arcade, which was not unusual for Mega Drive ports, but it wouldn't take long to beat the game, and at £35, it didn't provide a lot of value for money. I hired this game from the little shop a few miles from where I lived, and it was £3 for 3 days. And over the 3 days, I did play the heck out of this game with a mate, and on 2-player was great, as you could take different paths, so it felt more cooperative than other 2-player games. When I returned the game, the shop owner slapped a £10 price tag on it for sale second hand. At £10, I thought it was a great deal, especially as I knew I could get £15 for it at another video game store in Glasgow. So I paid the tenner, took it home and played it for a few more days, and then sold it to the store in Glasgow for £15. So I made a fiver out of it. And at those times, this is the kind of thing that I had to do to buy games, as the price of games was increasing all the time, especially on the import scene. The game never received a direct sequel, but the two main characters were used in a spin-off series of puzzle games. But these bared little resemblance to Bonanza Bros. The game would also appear in various Mega Drive or Sega collection packs for various consoles, but the game was, for the most part, a one and done type thing for Sega. Commercially, it done alright, but it just didn't have the same kind of impact as some of Sega's other titles of the times. I would say Bonanza Bros. Is a nice, enjoyable, not too hectic kind of game, and if you are looking for something a little different, then you should consider giving it a go. And that was my look back at Bonanza Bros. If you liked this video, then please do give me a sub and a thumbs up, or maybe even a comment or two below about your memories of Bonanza Bros. On any format. And a massive thank you to all of those who have subscribed to my channel and commented on my videos. Your feedback and support really does go a long way in helping the channel grow, and I do appreciate all of your support. So it's a massive thank you from me. And that's all from me, folks. Thanks for watching.